When Noah Carter was 5, he learned what silence really sounded like. It wasn't the quiet of bedtime or the hush after a heavy snow. It was the sound of the police officer's voice fading into the hallway, the way the fluorescent lights hummed over the waiting room chairs, and the way his little sister Lily's hand gripped his so tight that his fingers tingled. Somewhere in the hospital, a vending machine coughed out a can of cola. Somewhere, a woman laughed too loudly into her phone. But right around Noah and Lily, there was a bubble of silence that swallowed everything else. The kind that forms when the worst thing that could happen has already happened, and words have been knocked out of the room. The accident was bad. The words were simple. They didn't make it. He was 5. Lily was 3. Their mother's favorite red scarf, the one she wore to Noah's first t-ball practice, lay folded in the plastic bag the nurse handed them. The scarf smelled like her for a day longer than anyone expected. A social worker named Sandra Miller sat between them on a vinyl bench and talked gently about next steps. Noah didn't know what a step was supposed to be if it couldn't lead back to their parents. He only knew his sister's hair fell into her eyes, and their mother usually brushed it aside with the soft back of her fingers. He did it himself, clumsy and careful. "I got you," he whispered. "I'll take care of you forever." Sandra found them a foster family on the edge of Dayton, Ohio, Mark and Linda Bennett, who lived in a modest yellow house with a maple tree so tall it knuckled the sky. The first night, Lily cried until she hiccuped herself to sleep. Noah stayed awake memorizing shadows on the wall, because there was a new kind of quiet now, and it scared him. But the Bennetts were kind in a way that snuck up on him. Linda kept notes on the fridge to remember what foods the kids liked. She learned that Lily needed her socks to match, or she'd refuse to wear shoes at all. Mark taught Noah how to ride a bike and steadied the seat without making a big deal about it. When the training wheels came off, Mark jogged along beside him for blocks, pretending not to be winded. "Look at you," he said, and Noah, who always stood a little taller when Lily was watching, let himself smile. There were other foster kids who came and went, bringing stories and duffel bags that smelled like laundry detergent and bus stations. Noah learned that holding on was an art, and so was letting go. When a boy named Ty left after 3 months, Noah practiced keeping his face calm so Lily wouldn't fall apart. At night, he would repeat it like a prayer. "I got you, I got you, I got you." School became Noah's refuge. He wasn't the loudest or the fastest, but he could focus until the world narrowed to a pencil tip. The school librarian, Mrs. Parker, noticed him in 3rd grade and started sliding books across the desk. "Try this," she would say, and it was always exactly the right thing. Stories about kids who built things and fixed things and made something out of almost nothing. He became the kind of boy who saved his allowance for a toolkit and took apart junk radios to see how the wires braided around a small idea. The first time he reassembled something that actually worked, Lily clapped so hard her palms turned pink. "You're like a magic person," she told him, eyes wide. "I'll be the helper." By middle school, Noah woke early to shovel driveways in winter and mow lawns in summer. He wrote, "Carter and Sister, we do everything," on notebook paper and taped it to the grocery store bulletin board. Linda would find him at the kitchen table late at night, counting bills and coins, a stubborn little furrow between his eyebrows. "You're a hard worker, Noah," she said. "Hard work means you can't always choose your starting line, but you get to choose your direction." He kept going. He kept choosing. High school cracked time open. Noah took shop class with Mr. Whitaker, a tall man with a slow drawl and a knack for seeing straight through excuses. "You've got hands that think," Mr. Whitaker told him, squinting at the bookshelf Noah built out of scrap pine. "Someday, you'll build more than furniture. You'll build the kind of life that holds up under weight." There were days when the weight felt like too much. When bills outpaced paychecks and Lily needed braces. when the Bennett's old water heater finally died and everyone took cold showers for a week, when the car's transmission went and the math teacher announced a field trip fee Noah didn't know how to cover. He learned the geography of pawn shops and the wild patience of waiting until payday. He learned the strange comfort of the public library in summer, when the air conditioning made the world bearable and knowledge lined the walls for free. Once, when the ache of missing his parents woke him like an alarm bell, Noah took Lily to the park where, years earlier, he had learned to ride. They sat on the swings at dusk, the streetlights flicking on, the sky bruised purple. "Do you remember Mom's red scarf?" he asked. Lily nodded. "I keep it in my drawer. Took me forever to find the right drawer for it. Me too," he said, and the grasshoppers sang through the dark. Senior year, Noah juggled AP classes and a job at a hardware store called Harlan's. The owner, a wiry man with nicotine-stained fingers, taught him the names of everything: hex bolt, Phillips head, joist hanger, conduit. He learned how to talk to contractors with their coffee breath and weathered jokes, how to carry drywall without tearing it, how to show up on time every time. On Saturdays, he helped Mr. Whitaker repair classroom chairs and chatted about life after graduation. "You thinking college?" Mr. Whitaker asked. "Thinking about it," Noah said, honest as always. "Thinking about money more." Mr. Whitaker nodded, like a man who understood the math of both. "Community college has programs that won't drown you in debt. Construction management, carpentry, welding. The world needs good hands and clear heads. Graduation tasted both sweet and strange." The Bennetts cried in the bleachers. Lily waved a ridiculous hand-painted sign that read, "Noah the Builder," and Mrs. Parker tucked a small envelope into his palm. Inside was a short note and an old library card. "You don't owe us overdue fines," it said in Mrs. Parker's neat cursive. "You owe the world your best." In the fall, Noah started at Sinclair Community College, splitting his time between classes and a subcontracting job. He learned the language of blueprints and permits, timesheets and code inspections. He moved fast but carefully, like someone carrying something precious. And he was. Every choice he made was a step toward the future he had promised Lily. Lily grew, too. She joined the school choir, stacked shelves at the library, and learned to make pancakes that didn't burn. She kept her mother's scarf folded beneath her socks and wore it on bad days like a superhero cape under her jacket. On Saturdays, she'd find Noah sketching rough designs at the kitchen table and sit across from him with her homework. "You're going to have a company one day," she said, no doubt in her voice. "Carter Construction. It sounds perfect." "Maybe," he said, and then smiled because maybe had started to feel close. In his second year of study, Noah landed a part-time internship with Whitaker and Sons, a small family firm that took on everything from porches to full remodels. The owner's daughter, Rachel Whitaker, was an engineer with a mind like a measuring tape, precise, quick, impossible to fool. She respected Noah's accuracy and his way of listening. He respected her ability to reverse a bad plan like it was nothing. Together, they learned to read houses like stories, where the weight fell, where the hidden damage hid, where a beam could turn worry into peace. The winter he turned 20, a blizzard rolled through Ohio that closed schools for a week. Noah and Lily spent it shoveling driveways and checking on elderly neighbors. On the last night of the storm, their furnace died and the house turned into a breath cloud. Noah sat on the floor with Mark, the metal panel off, the manual in his lap and a flashlight wedged between his teeth. He read, rewired, reset, and the furnace rumbled back to life like a tired bear waking up. When warmth rolled through the vents, Lily whooped and danced in wool socks. "See?" she said to the air, to their parents, to her brother. "He can fix anything." Time kept stacking, one good plank after another. Noah finished his associate's degree, earned his contractor's license, and, with the Bennett's blessing and a small loan from a community fund Mrs. Parker had recommended, he registered Carter and Company. Builders. The name felt heavy in his mouth and right in his chest. His first jobs were small: repair a porch, replace a door, retile a bathroom. He sorted receipts at night and watched tutorials on accounting the way other people watched TV. He promised Lily that when she graduated high school, he'd have enough saved for her to choose college without fear. The day she got her acceptance letter to the nursing program at the University of Cincinnati, she burst into the shop with paper confetti and chocolate donuts. "We did it," she said, tackling him in a hug. "You did it." "No," Noah said, throat tight. "We did it." It wasn't perfect. That summer, a client refused to pay on time, and one of Noah's crew injured his hand, and the bank called about a payment that had slipped his mind while he was dealing with 3 suppliers and a cracked foundation. He stood alone in his unfinished office, dust floating in the window light like slow snow, and let the panic crest and fall. He called Rachel, who helped him build a new schedule. He called Mrs. Parker, who talked him through a grant application. He called Linda, who said, "You have survived every bad day so far." He slept on the floor and woke up to keep going. On the night before Lily left for college, they drove out to the edge of town to the cemetery where their parents rested beneath 2 simple stones. They brought flowers and the red scarf. Lily tied it around the vase and tucked it snug like a promise. Noah cleaned the markers with gentle strokes. He didn't say the words out loud, but he thought them so hard it felt like the ground could hear, "I got you. I got you still." Lily cried, and then laughed at herself for crying, and then let Noah hug her as long as he wanted. "You're everything," she whispered into his shoulder. "You're my whole past, and my future, too." "Go make your own future," he said, pushing her hair back like he had on that terrible night long ago. "I'll build mine and meet you there." The years that followed began to look like the ones they had dreamed. Carter and Company grew 1 referral at a time. Noah hired apprentices who reminded him of himself, quiet kids with good hands and something to prove. He paid them fairly and taught them what Mr. Whitaker had taught him. He partnered with Rachel on a handful of bigger projects, and they learned, together, how to argue without damage and how to imagine a house no one had lived in yet. He never forgot where he came from. Each spring, he donated a set of tool kits to the high school shop class. In December, he and Lily organized a warm hands drive through the library, collecting gloves and hats for families who needed them. He kept a notebook in his truck where he wrote down names of people who might need help later. Mrs. Green on Maple, who used a walker, Mr. Dillard, whose roof whistled in the wind. When Lily graduated in her Navy nursing scrubs and white shoes, Noah sat with the Bennetts and clapped until his hands hurt. After the ceremony, they stood under a plane tree, the Ohio sky wide above them, and took pictures, so many pictures. Lily tugged the red scarf from her bag and draped it around both their shoulders. "Mom would love this," she said. "Dad, too." "I think they do," Noah said, and for the first time since childhood, he felt the silence change into something else. Not empty, but full. Later that summer, he bought a small, tidy house with a porch big enough for 2 rocking chairs. He painted the front door a bright, steady blue. He framed a copy of Mrs. Parker's note and hung it above his desk. In the evenings, he sat on that porch and watched the neighborhood do its ordinary miracles. A dog walker waving to a child on a scooter. A teenager delivering groceries to the woman across the street. A father carrying a sleeping baby from a car, the baby's head on his shoulder like a sunrise. On an early September morning, he and Lily drove to the ribbon cutting of a community center he'd volunteered to help renovate. The sign over the doors read, "The Bennett Center," which made Mark and Linda blush and everyone else cheer. Inside, there was a workshop room that smelled faintly of sawdust and hope. On the wall hung a plaque with names of people who had built it, including 2 at the bottom that made Noah blink hard. in loving memory of Evelyn and Michael Carter, whose love built our first home. He touched the plaque with the side of his hand. "We're okay," he murmured. "We're better than okay." That night they returned to the cemetery with 2 small lanterns. They set them at the base of the stones and watched the soft light pool. Lily bunched the red scarf beside them like a little flame. Crickets sang their late summer chorus. Far away, a train moaned through the dark. "Do you ever think about that first promise?" Lily asked, her voice small in the wide night. "Every day," Noah said. "I'll think about it when I'm old and creaky and my porch chair makes too much noise." "And do you think you kept it?" He looked at his sister, confident nurse, steady heart, the little girl with the fierce hug grown into a woman who could bandage a wound and calm a room. And then he looked at himself, a man who had learned to build and repair and stand still in the wind. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt like someone who had loved hard enough to outlast the worst thing. "I think we kept it together," he said. "I think we made something beautiful out of what we had." Lily slipped her hand into his. For a long time they stood there, 2 shadows holding hands in a wash of lantern light. The silence that found them now was the good kind, the kind that follows a song when the last note still hangs in the air, the kind that lives in the space between what was lost and what was built to honor it. On the way home, they stopped for milkshakes. The guy at the counter was a kid with worried eyes and a name tag that read Evan. He rang them up wrong and apologized too many times. Noah recognized that tremor in his hands, the one that came from wanting to get everything right, because life had already proved it could go wrong. "It's okay," Noah said softly. "Everybody starts somewhere. You'll..." "Get it outside under the neon," Lily bumped Noah's shoulder. "You see yourself in everyone." "Maybe," he said, sipping chocolate through a long red straw. "It helps me remember." At home, he turned off the porch light, locked the blue door, and checked the small things that made up a life built with care. In his bedroom, next to the photo of their parents, he kept a scrap of paper where he had penciled a single sentence years ago, the night he filed the paperwork to start his company. "Hard work makes a road. Love shows the way." He read it each night, not because he needed the reminder, but because it felt like saying grace. Before bed, he texted Lily, "Proud of you. Sleep well." Her reply came back with a heart and a nurse emoji and a short line that caught in his chest. "Proud of us," she wrote. "Always."